Welcome back into the Daft on Draft podcast. This is your Thursday edition of the Daft on Draft podcast. And today we are going to build our Frankenstein edge rushers. Again, we've done this with tight ends. We've done this with wide receivers, running backs. So we're kind of going through the position groups of doing this with it. So we've got it broken down into 6 categories: pass rush plan, length and power, bend flexibility, body type, explosiveness and first step, and run defense. But again, I can't build an edge rusher without somebody else building an edge rusher with me to compare it to. So before we get into that, I'm going to bring Dalton in. And Dalton, your eyes are looking much better today.
Oh, dude.
Than the past couple of days for those watching on YouTube.
So much better. Still definitely messed up. You could still tell, but it is. I'm medicating the hell out of them. I am moisturizing the hell out of them, so they are getting a little bit better, a little bit at a time. But yeah, listen, we could have done like 10 categories for edge rusher just because there's so much that goes into playing the position. It's a lot like tight end where there are so many different responsibilities for a tight end that you could have had 8 different things, 9 different things. But we did chop it down to 6. And you guys are going to hear a lot of names of the biggest edge rushers in the class, and it's because they are all really good at specific things in their game. We don't really have that like dominating edge prospect this year. And I do think it's kind of a year where, depending on what your specific team needs or likes to draft, body type wise is going to kind of be where we're at. And it's going to be very interesting to see Cory's body type pick compared to my body type pick and what we believe is the optimal frame for a pass rusher.
Yeah. I have a question for you before we do this. Do you think we would have a standout edge rusher in this class if one particular edge rusher stayed healthy through the non-conference part of the season? Based on how he's played now that they're in conference play?
I don't know.
There's a part of me that's like, if he was healthy going through that non-conference schedule at Georgia, I think we would be talking about Mykel Williams maybe as the standout edge in this class, based on what he did against Texas, based on what he did against Clemson.
Yeah, it's just it's weird because like when I look at him, it's a lot like some of these other pass rushers, like even James Pierce, where it's like they don't even really start. You know what I mean? Like they're rotational guys, even though they are some of the best guys in the class. But like he hasn't played, and he played 38 snaps against Texas, but he played 25 snaps against Alabama, 20 against Clemson. Like that's it. He played 6 against Auburn and 11 against Mississippi State. Like they're just not playing him very often. And we talked about this off air, but like it doesn't make sense to me because we're looking at him as pretty much a designated pass rusher for them, and they condense him down inside a lot. But sometimes they condense him down inside, and it's a surprise run on 3rd and 11, and he's standing up double teams from centers and guards at 265 pounds. So like maybe, but then also why is he not playing 50 snaps a game?
Yeah.
Those are my questions.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think that's fair enough. He might not be healthy 100% still at this point.
And if he's not fully healthy, good God. Yes,
good God,
he is edge one.
Yeah, for sure. Just an interesting thought there. But yeah, this edge class, I think there are a lot of different opinions on it and a lot of different things. And especially going to Georgia, man, like everybody loves all the Georgia edge rushers, but their sophomore edge rusher who isn't even draft eligible really popped for me against Texas too. Damian Wilson, I think is his name.
Number 10.
Yeah, he beat up Cam Williams pretty bad.
Yeah, he did a couple of times. And he's weird because he runs funny. Like when he actually gets on the hoof, he runs funny. But when he is as a pass rusher, like as a proactive athlete, and I always break athleticism into proactive and reactive. And like from a proactive athleticism standpoint, I think he's awesome. Like as a pass rusher, he's going to be a big thing. But he looks really funny when he's running and like change of direction stuff when he has to react to what's going on in the backfield. But yeah, as a pass rusher, he had a really good game against Cam Williams.
He did. He had one in particular, one rep where he just smoked him.
On the outside, it was one of the sacks, right?
Yeah, just absolutely smoked him. But let's dive into this. Let's do this thing. Let's stop talking about it and let's dive in. So, again, categories are plan, body type, bend flexibility, length, power, explosiveness, run defense. Let's start with the 2 body type questions first. Let's start with those 2 categories first. Let's do body type and then length, power. Let's start there and work our way down. So let's start with body type. Dalton, I'll let you go first. And again, laying some parameters. We can only use 2025 NFL draft eligible edge rushers. And we can only use them once.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where it gets interesting because there's a lot of really nice body types, but you want to use them for other things too. So,
yeah. There definitely is. And depending on what kind of defense you want to run, the body type would be completely different. So like if I'm, in New Orleans, I might choose one of the Texas A&M guys who are 280 pounds. But if I'm a defense that runs a lot of, 50 fronts, I'm looking at a guy who might be 245 to 260. I personally like a little bit more of a traditional build. And for me, that body type in this class almost has to be Princely Umanmielen. Somebody who has legitimate length. And I know that this isn't a length and power type of category here, but I also added the arms into body type in my decision. And at 6'4", almost 260 pounds, I think that is a decent enough frame. He also has the length. We can get into all of our issues or love with his actual game. But from a body type perspective, I did find it tough to go with anybody else other than the guy who I think you're going to choose, who I hated to leave off of this list entirely, but I had better options at each spot because he's kind of more of a do-it-all guy.
Yeah, I like the pick of Umanmielen there. He's always one of those, like the past 2 years now, I've been waiting. Like, is he going to do it this year? Is he going to pop this year? Yeah, you just keep waiting. That's which just kind of stinks. But I like that. I'm going in the opposite direction. And I'm going to go with the Frankenstein. Like, I'm building a complete Frankenstein. And, people fell in love with Keon White a couple of years. Was it last year? 2 years ago. Last year. No, it was 2023. 2 years ago. Yeah, 2023. And obviously JJ Watt was the best player in the NFL for 3 years there before the injuries really started taking its toll on his body. But I'm going to go with the massive body type, the 6'6", 290-pound body type here. Because again, if I'm building bend into that and I'm building all your stuff into that, why not? Why not just go with the body type? And I'm going to go with Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M here. So give me the thick lower half. Give me the ability to kick him inside, play him outside. Give me those long arms. Give me that massive frame. So I'm going to
drop into freaking coverage.
Drop it. Why not? Yeah.
He does. I mean, he does. He has in the past. He does. Yeah. Like that's what I saw a video today of Keon White, and he was dropping into coverage, and it's like, yes, it's Shamar Stewart right there.
It's even wild. Like, I wanted to comp him to even like Myles Garrett is a really big edge rusher, but Myles Garrett's like 6'4", 275, which is still really big,
huge.
But we're talking about 6'6", 290 right now. So I'm going to go 6'6", 290. I'm taking Shamar Stewart.
That's fair. And when you build it into like the rest of you have the bend, you have the explosiveness, then yes, that like it is the obvious decision. And now I'm ruining my choice, but it is what it is. Length and power. Who's your pick?
Yeah, length and power. This one's pretty. I think we're gonna have the same player for this one.
You picked the dude with 36-inch arms.
Yeah, 36-inch arms. The guy we talked about he might be the best edge rusher in the class if he'd been healthy, or it would be healthy the whole season. It's Mykel Williams from Georgia. Like, absolute vines. And then he gets into he'll get into your chest and make you look really stupid. So that's a pretty easy pick that I don't even know if we need to talk a whole lot about, but I'll let you say your piece with it. It's Mykel Williams. Yeah.
No. Yeah. I mean, that's it. Like I said, saw him condense down inside, saw him take on multiple double teams. Like he was a 320-pound nose tackle. Like he is a special athlete, and you're probably right. If he stays healthy and if they play him more, he makes a legitimate impact on the field. I think that he could have been the top edge guy. And, maybe they still have a lot of SEC ball to play still. So maybe they get him, the 40 to 50 snaps a game moving forward. Maybe he's fully healthy now. But I want to see him on the field more. I want to see him get more time in there and dominating the way that I thought that he did against Texas.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's play more than 30 snaps a game. It's kind of the same thing with another SEC edge rusher. I don't know if he's on your list, but he's on my list. That we'll talk
Not
about
on my list. I know who you're talking. I already know who you're talking about. But yes,
again, let's play more than 30 snaps a game, man. Let's move on to bend flexibility. I'll just go ahead since I already just tipped it off. I didn't even mean to do that. But
you see, there's another SEC edge rusher that isn't. I don't think he's on either of our lists, but also doesn't play enough snaps, and he wears number 22, and he is all team bad body at Alabama.
LT Overton. Nobody's picking him for body type.
No, I don't think he plays enough either.
No, nobody's picking him for body type either. But he's a fun player, explosive player. But yeah, for sure. Ben flexibility. I'll just, it's the same guy I was talking about. Early in the season, Tennessee was up 50 at halftime on some of these teams. There's no need for James Pierce to be playing in those games. But it's pretty evident he was hurt, and he only played 30 snaps against Florida. Really ramped up against Alabama, though. Played a decent amount of snaps against Alabama, though. So I'm taking James Pierce here for Ben flexibility. I could have taken him for explosiveness as well, or first step there, because that Alabama game, he's the first guy off the ball every freaking snap is on the field. So but there's another athlete that's pretty evident and easy to put in that category as well. That Dalton and I are probably at the same guy in there too. But I'm taking James Pierce here for Ben because his ability to just dip his hips and the flexibility in his ankles is absolutely wild to win on the outside track. And I just think he's a really nice athlete who has the ability to just really minimize the surface area that he gives offensive tackles the ability to attack. So I'm going to go James Pierce Jr. there for bend and flexibility.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why you picked the other guy over him for first step explosiveness, even though he was the first one off the ball and damn near past the offensive tackle playing against Alabama, is because that is a lot of snap timing.
Yeah, it is.
When we talk about just general explosiveness, first step explosiveness, it is more of your physical ability and not your mental ability to get off of the snap quickly. But he is also my Ben pick. You get one or two guys every single year. Yannick Ngakoue, Brian Burns, Randy Gregory. That's where we're at with James Pierce. Like it's that A tier bordering on S tier level bend off of the edge. And do I worry a little bit that he is, like 245 pounds? Sure. As a full-time player, but if you can be a passing down specialist and you can get 40 to 50 pressures a year and 8 to 12 sacks, you're going to get paid, even as a designated pass rusher.
Bryce Huff.
Yes.
And he's got a way better body than Bryce Huff. Yeah.
Yes. And the thing with him as well, and we talked about this off air as well, he's got some thickness in his lower half that
he's like think that maybe Josh Sweat out of FSU. Like Josh
a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I think Sweat was maybe a little bit more linear and explosive, and James is a little bit more fluid and bendy, kind of like a little bit more Azeez Ojulari, but with more of a natural power element than Azeez or like Ngakoue. But he has that special type of bend that guys like Sweat have, and Sweat might be just a pretty good comp for him overall. But again, good players, and all of these guys, every single one of them, if you can win on the outside track, you can play at the NFL level. And with that bend, with his amount of explosiveness, he's going to be just fine at the NFL level as a pass rusher, at least.
Yeah. Yep. Completely agreed. All right.
What do we want to go to next? Explosiveness? We might as well, right?
Yeah, let's do explosiveness and then loop back around to pass rush plan before we hit run defense there.
Yeah, because I think pass rush plan and run defense, I think we'll have different guys. For this one, we will not.
Yeah, we will not. Explosiveness, it's pretty easy.
Here's the thing, guys. If you go to Penn State, you're probably going to get the athleticism pick here. In any of the positions that we do. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. Abdul Carter is the next line of freaky Penn State pass rushers. We've seen it a million times. Maybe they don't always work out at the NFL level. If you guys have looked at the rookie pass rushers this year, it is Jared Verse and a whole lot of nothing else so far. Maybe those guys turn into something, but I do think when you look at Abdul Carter, even if he doesn't end up being a full-time edge at the NFL level, which I think he's a good player. I think he's a little bit underwhelming overall as a pass rusher. You cannot take away his explosiveness. And if you put him off the ball and he can see things in a somewhat quick manner, he'll be an okay linebacker, or you can use him as a Sam and move him. Like, there are things that you can do with him. You could figure out a way to make him work for your football team. holy crap, the Buccaneers played Devin White for years. So you can figure out something.
Drafted him 5th
that'll
overall.
work with him. Yeah.
That's why.
You can figure out something to do with Abdul Carter.
Yeah. I think you want to use him similar to how the Cowboys, and it's not a direct comp, but like a usage comp, the way that they're using the other forward Penn State guy. They'll play him off ball, they'll play him off the edge, depending on that. Like D&D in situation, they'll put him wherever. But it does seem like Abdul Carter's having more success the more they move him around. They did try to make him exclusively an edge rusher at the beginning of the year. And, talking about going up against a guy like Wyatt Millam, even with 32-inch arms, beat the crap out of him in week 1 against West Virginia. So, like, it seems like the more he can keep opposing defenses on his heels with where he's aligning, the better as well. But yeah, he's the easy pick here. You pick the Penn State athlete for explosiveness every time. Mm-hmm. Every time you pick the Penn State athlete. So, yeah.
And with the explosiveness also comes like the ability to cross face on the interior against interior blockers, which is where Micah has really, really flashed at the NFL level. He's a great edge rusher, obviously. But like if you can figure that out with Abdul Carter as well, coming through the A gap.
Yep, for sure. For sure. All right. Pass rush plan. Yeah, we're gonna go different directions here. I'm gonna go Nick Scorton.
Fair.
I'm going Nick Scorton. And I know we just talked about the podcast last episode of maybe the NFL's not as high on this guy as analysts and we are. But the ways he can win, man, he's got a lethal spin move. He can cross your face from outside back into inside. He can win along the outside track, and he can win through your chest. Like, how do you not go with the guy who can win and like he can convert speed to power? He can bend. Like there's no end to what this guy can do to you and how he can set you up. So you just go with that guy if they can win through the chest, along the outside shoulder, cross face inside. Like, yeah, give me that guy.
Yeah. Listen, you guys know I have talked about my love of Nick Scorton, and I don't think he would have been a bad pick here. I think he was a good pick here. I think he might have the best plan, but I'm going to go with somebody who absolutely, I thought, dominated against who was supposed to be the best offensive tackle in this class for many people, and that would be South Carolina pass rusher Kyle Kennard.
Wow.
I'm picking him. He had Will Campbell on the back foot the entire game. And he didn't win every single rep because Will Campbell is still a very special blocker, even though we both think he's going to be a guard at the NFL level, a very good football player. But Kennard winning inside, winning outside, different plans, setting Will Campbell up to fail with a plethora of pass rush plan. And we have seen it not just in that game, but all season, Kennard. And some of it is a little bit lucky. I forget what game it was, but there were a couple times where he just was entirely unblocked. And that comes down to the defense that they had, the ability to show pressure in one spot and bring it another way. And he just ends up being unblocked because the protection call was going to the opposite side. And so for me, I watched that game against LSU, and man, this is somebody who mentally beat who we think is probably the sharpest offensive lineman in this class.
Yeah, I respect it. When you told me you were going deep cut, I thought you were going to do like Antoine Powell-Ryland or like Ben Bell or something like that.
But Powell-Ryland is a good outside pass rusher as well. I want to bring up another name, and I have absolutely no clue how to pronounce his last name, but it's Donovan Ezruwaka maybe. The edge rusher from Boston College. He's a senior. The most creative pass rusher I've ever seen in my entire life. It looks like he looked up a pass rush move book or tutorial on YouTube.
Did you just watch his YouTube videos
and just picked and just said, I'm going to try that this game. And it is like every single pass rush is the most creative thing I have ever seen in my entire life. And like 75% of the time, he just gets his ass kicked. And then 25% of the time, it is the smoothest, coolest thing that you have ever seen. But like tried to hit like an outside spin move like 8 times in one game, and it never worked once. But really good run defender, somebody who I almost picked for the next category. I ended up not doing it. Good player, but find a couple of, it's like a restaurant. Find a couple things you're good at. Have a smaller menu and just perfect that menu. Donovan, perfect your menu. You might be a really good pass rusher at the NFL level.
I love it. I love it. All right, run defense. I feel like they cheated a little bit on this one, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Don't you dare.
I'm going to go with Jalen Walker here. It feels like cheating because he can stuff the run from the second level, or he can do it from the edge. So it feels a little cheaty here.
No, I'm okay. I'm okay with this pick. Actually, I'm okay with this pick. I thought you were. I thought you were going to go cheater, like cheater, and go with Shamar Turner.
Oh, the other. See, he's played predominantly interior, so I don't think we can use him for.
Man, that's what I was saying. I thought you were going to try to cheat and say,
take just 3 Texas A&M defensive linemen here. Might as well just build.
They're all 290.
Yeah, they're all huge. I'm going to go Jalen Walker again. He does it from linebacker. He does it from edge rusher, but he does have 17 stop tackles, which he's indexed as a linebacker on PFF, but would be 3rd highest in the class as an edge rusher. And stop tackles. Again, he's not afraid to come down in the A gap and just he's not going to make the tackle in the A gap, but he'll come down and he'll blow up a duo. He'll blow up a double team, or he'll do his best to just try to avoid the block and penetrate the gap anyway. From the A gap, B gap, as an edge rusher, he's just scrappy, a high motor player. He's not going to stop till he hears a whistle. So I'm going to go with Jalen Walker there. Feels a little bit like cheating because he can do it from 2 different spots, and most of his run defense does come from the same level. But yeah,
that's a bit like cheating. It's a bit like cheating. I'm going to go deep cut here. I'm going to go with the edge rusher version of Poona Ford. I am going with NC State edge rusher Davin Van.
Your boy.
Yes, he is hilarious. He is 6'1", 270 to 280 pounds. But like you were talking about, a motor that never, ever quits. That NC State defense, he has played 5 tech for like 7 years now, it feels, in that defense. And he very much reminds me of a lot of the NC State guys who have come through in the past, where not the biggest, not the most athletic dudes, but just really solid, like tough-nosed players on the edge who are too undersized to play 3 tech, but a little bit too big and not quite athletic enough to really survive on the edge at the NFL level as a full-time player. I don't know what he is, but man, I love to watch him play football. And when it comes to run defense, I do think that's where obviously a guy that is that size is going to flourish if you are able to survive from a length perspective and from a leveraging perspective. He has the natural leverage, and he uses what anatomical length he has to his advantage in that natural leverage advantage, and playing in an odd front, which is a lot of true like 3 down fronts where he is 2 gapping. I think that he does a fantastic job overall.
I love it. Dalton went with the deep cuts. I went with the big names. It is what it is. But we build our edge rushers. So I'll go back over mine real fast. Again, for body type, I went with Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M, 6'6", 290-pound big boy. Bend flexibility, James Pierce Jr. Length and power, I went with Michael Williams from Georgia. Explosiveness, first step, Abdul Carter from Penn State. Pass rush playing Nick Scorton from Texas A&M, and then run defense, I went with Jalen Walker from Georgia as well. So I used 2 from Texas A&M and 2 from Georgia.
And I went with body type, Princely Uman-Milan. Flexibility and bend, James Pierce. Length, power, Michael Williams. Explosiveness, Abdul Carter. Pass rush, hands plan, Kyle Kennard. And run defense, Davin Van.
Love it. I love it. And that's our Frankenstein edge rushers. again, I always try to use like an NFL player on the cover sheet for like the thumbnail for YouTube and whatnot of like who's the Frankenstein running back at this position, who's the Frankenstein receiver. And I feel like I'm a Browns fan, and I'm just gonna use Myles Garrett because he kind of is the Frankenstein right now in the
No,
NFL.
that's absolutely who you
Yeah.
should choose.
Yeah,
There's
I used Nick
no-
Chubb for running back too, but that also feels fair. I probably could have used Derrick Henry if I wanted to, but probably should have used Derrick Henry. But,
Yeah. Well, with the season he's having this year,
it's
holy crap.
unbelievable. Also,
Outrageous.
just some quick college football news for you who have been watching college football over the last 6 years. Former Coastal Carolina and NC State quarterback Grayson McCall has medically retired from football. So
Wow.
that's just some news. He suffered a pretty bad concussion in NC State's last year. He got lit up on a scramble, and he's decided to call it quits, hang it up. So for all of you who loved the triple option days back with Chadwell and the days of the Chanticleers,
that was a fun
the end of an
team.
era. It was a fun team. They beat Zach Wilson and BYU that year.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But that's it for this edition of the Daft on Draft podcast. Again, we'll be back tomorrow breaking down this week 9 slate. Now we're already on week 9 of college football here, which is crazy. I feel like I was just like on my anniversary weekend watching week 1 in Chicago for my anniversary, and now we're here doing week 9. So we'll be back tomorrow breaking down that slate, what matchups there are of 2025 NFL prospects to watch. Overarching themes, like last week, there weren't a ton of matchups. We were able to talk about the quarterbacks and the parity we thought that week might provide, and it truly did. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about the slate of games, and we'll get into that. But for now, I'm Cory at Fake Cory Kinnan on Twitter, and that is Dalton Miller. Dalton B. Miller on Twitter. And this is the Daft on Draft podcast.
Welcome